Hi, this is Mark Graban from KaiNexus. In today's KaiNexus Continuous Improvement podcast, we'll be doing a quick preview of the next webinar in our KaiNexus webinar series. It's going to be held on January 13th, 1 o'clock Eastern. It's titled Transitioning Lean from Manufacturing to the Office. And we're joined today by Stephanie Hill. She's going to be the presenter for that session. So Stephanie, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Mark, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn from your webinar, and I know there's going to be a lot for folks in our community. Before we're going to chat a little bit about the webinar, but I also want to share a little bit about Stephanie. She is the owner of Lightbulb Moment Consulting in Des Moines, Iowa, and she has more than 20 years of experience applying quality and continuous improvement in a wide range of industries and settings. And she's got a number of certifications, including a Master Black Belt in Lean Six Sigma. And you can learn more. You can read her full bio. And I should also mention you can register for the webinar at kainexus.com/webinars. So Stephanie, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about yourself. The idea of transitioning lean from manufacturing to the office. I'm guessing that's driven partly by some of your own experience.
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned that I had 20 years of experience with continuous improvement. About half of that has been spent in manufacturing companies, and the other half has been in more transactional environments. And so along the way, I found that I was making several missteps trying to make the transition of how I was applying continuous improvement in one environment to the next. And over time, I realized that the differences really boil down to three key areas. And so in this webinar, I'm going to take everyone through those three key areas, and I'm going to provide some techniques to help improve a person's success rate as they work as a CI practitioner.
Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about all three. Can you give us one of them as just a bit of a teaser here?
Sure. A person's association to their work. That would be one of them.
So tell us a little bit more about that. Is that so talking about like the connection of purpose and why we do the work?
Well, it's just kind of thinking about your day-to-day work. And so, when you're in the manufacturing setting, you have a widget of some sort that you're moving. It's very tangible. It's really in your hands, right? So it's moving from point A to point B. So if somebody changes the widget that goes through past your hands, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference if you're kind of used to that. In the office setting, though, that widget, a lot of that work happens in your mind. And so it works with your experience. And so your mind and your heart are really attached to that. And so when you try to make changes, that requires a lot of a person changing, right? So having to figure out how to separate that deep association a person has to their work in order to free them up to make some positive changes.
And when you talk about office settings, I imagine that's not all the same either, that there are differences in the offices in different types of environments, like an insurance company versus a healthcare organization. Is that fair to say? What do you think?
Yeah, that's fair to say. I would say that they are different, but I did also see that the themes have application in pretty much every setting. Mm-hmm. So the unique thing is really when I talk about, I don't want to give too much away, but another factor that really comes into play when you have someone who is working with the same type of work on a day-to-day basis and going very rapidly through that. That's really different from somebody maybe who works in sales or someone who has a lot more unique experiences, or they only happen like maybe once a year. So you see differences in how you'd approach it based off of that.
Yeah. And we'll hear a lot more from Stephanie during the webinar on January 13th. Again, you can register at kainexus.com/webinars. If you're listening to this after the 13th, you'll be able to find a recording of the webinar again at kainexus.com/webinars. Click on through to the on-demand library. You can also find it in our YouTube channel. So Stephanie Hill from Lightbulb Moment Consulting. One other question, because I don't know if we'll take time for this during the webinar. Tell us about the origin of the name of your company, Lightbulb Moment Consulting.
Yeah, so I just feel like anything I've done in my past in continuous improvement has not been rocket science. Mm-hmm. It's been somebody, having a different perspective with me, and me being able to step away and make space for curiosity and learning. And when that happens, there's those aha moments or light bulb moments that take place. And so that's been really the most rewarding piece of me practicing continuous improvement. So that was how I chose that for my company.
All right. Well, great. So conveys a lot of the purpose and the meaning behind the work that you've done and the work that you do with others. So
Yeah, definitely.
that's very cool. And your website is
www.lbmoment.com.
Oh, wait. So before we actually sign off, there's one other thing we're experimenting with here, Stephanie, if you want to tell the listeners about that.
Yeah, I think, we really want to be able to reach out to a broad audience, and continuous improvement is something practiced internationally. So I am going to be presenting this with Spanish subtitles, so that if Spanish is your primary language, I hope you can join us for that experience.
And that's a tool, that's a part of PowerPoint that does that, right?
Yeah, really neat. Definitely.
That is very cool. I knew it was a recent feature to do subtitles. I didn't know it also did translation. So that's very cool. That's going to be very helpful in a lot of ways going forward.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Stephanie Hill, thanks again. The webinar, Transitioning Lean from Manufacturing to the Office, January 13th, 1 o'clock Eastern. Thanks in advance for doing the presentation, and thanks for doing the preview here.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Mark.